I want to start off by saying that I have worked at the same job for 14 years. It's a great job where I just sit at a desk and make sure that the emails that are sent out by us are readable and professional sounding. I kind of fell in the job since my mother knew the CEO of the company, and since then I've moved up to a manager position with extremely good pay and great benefits. Alright, since you've asked, I do make over 120K a year, and all my benefits are included. All the health, 30 vacation days, paid of course, and an apartment that the company pays for each month. All in all, I simply couldn't be more content with where I am in my life. I've never been married, but I'm only 33, and it is the last thing that concerns me. I've had a couple of relationships here and there, but after a couple of months, the love goes sour, and I begin to lose interest. Anyways, out of that semi-depressing topic, and onto the more fun part. I live in one of the eastern states, but I really don't care, and I really don't want to tell you exactly which one. My apartment has a beautiful oceanside view, and I love drinking coffee while I just watch the waves go back and forth. I remember just 14 years ago when I was just a college dropout, and walking along the side of this very beach, trying to find the nearest cheap food vendor so I could spend the last $5 on something just to fill my stomach. Now I'm staring down at that very spot that I walked on and smiling to myself, thinking of how lucky I am to have such a great mother. I give my mother a call every morning to tell her that I love her and to make sure she's doing fine. When she was 62, she decided to live in a retirement village so that she could be with people that were around her age. I miss having her around, but when I visited her last year, she really seemed like she was having the time of her life. After my daily phone call to my mother, I drive to work. Today was just like every other day, but I had the intense urge to use the restroom. I waddled into the restroom with my bladder nearing its max capacity, and I burst through the doors only to find a man already using the urinal. So I walked into the stall and did my business. I started browsing my phone and got distracted for about 15 minutes. Having only 5 minutes to get back to my desk, I quickly zipped up my pants and I just got out of the stall. When I looked to my left, I noticed the same man was still standing in front of the urinal. Not really having any time to think about how weird this was, I ran to the door and ran to my desk. After I clocked in, I started on my work. For a brief moment, I thought about the man, but I quickly dismissed it to just a man having difficulty using the restroom. After I finished looking over 85 emails and sending them out, I decided it was about time for my lunch. I went to the nearby sandwich shop and ate a roast beef sandwich with salt and vinegar chips. After I ate all that I could, I folded the paper over the rest of the sandwich and carried it back with me. When I got back to my desk, I placed the sandwich on my desk and took my daily after lunch restroom break. Basically, just me sitting on the toilet and looking at my phone for 15 minutes. When I walked into the restroom, I noticed the man was still standing in front of the urinal. Feeling a little bit uneasy, I lightly tapped on his shoulder. He turned around to face me and gave me a smile that just made me uneasy. His lips formed into a smile, but his eyes were bouncing all over the place in panic. His throat was making a strained noise, but his mouth just stayed in a closed-lip smile. I asked him if he needed me to get him any help, but he just shook his head no. About 10 minutes into my break, I heard a scratching noise coming from the direction of the man, so I got up and opened the stall and peeked out. What the hell? Blood is now covering this man's hands as he started to write something on the wall in front of him with his blood. I shut the stall door and resisted the urge to throw up. When I finally managed to calm myself down, I walked out of the stall and stood behind the man to read what he was writing. It was just a single sentence. "Can you really see me?" The man turned around with the same smile on his face as he just stared me down with his pleading eyes. I nodded my head yes at him and ran out the door and ran into the man that worked on the desk next to me. I told him that there was a man that had been in front of the urinal for the past 5 hours, and now he was writing on the wall with the blood from his fingers. He just stared at me with a look of shock and pushed the door open. He took a quick look inside the restroom and called me a jerk, and he just walked away. I looked in there with him and saw that there was nothing but an empty room with clean blue walls. Knowing for a fact that I'm going crazy, now I open the doors again just to reassure myself. And as I see the same man, he has turned his head completely around and he watches me as I read his new message. And on the wall, it just says, "Don't trust anyone here."